All right. I am sorry for the delay, folks. I said 11:30. It is now what? 11:48. I'm still learning technical difficulties. I'm still learning how to get YouTube in my studio to talk to each other. Um, but I've got it figured out, and I've now learned after two mistakes. I think I've got the process down. So I'm gonna wait for some other people to come in, and we're gonna talk about night two of Democratic debates. Uh, so I welcome your comments. Please, please share this. Tell your friends that the show is about to start. Have them come on in. Share this right now if you can. Um, so anyway, I'm gonna wait. Like I said, I'm gonna wait like a minute or two, and let other people come in, and come. But please, on the live chat, say hello. Just type in hello, comment hello, so I know you're here. Thank you very much for joining in. Um, and I'm gonna try to get something else up here while I'm waiting. So, okay, good, good. Good, good, good. What is with that one? All right. Okay, we got three. We got three. Can we get five people viewing? I know this was really short notice, but we're gonna, like I said, about another one more minute. We're gonna get rolling here. So, all right. So yesterday, welcome to the Duopoly Report. This is the lunchtime live stream, and I'm going to be talking about last night, the Democratic debate, the second Democratic debate, part two. Suzanne, hey, thanks for joining the show again. Thanks for commenting. So we had it was an interesting debate. Day two, night two was a little bit different than night one. Was it better? Was it worse? I'm not gonna say if I thought it was better or worse. Um, but it was different, and it had a different character to it. And part of that is just because of the mix of people that were there that night. The other part is that I think that the main players of the debate acted differently. So, what do I mean by that? The main players were the two people front and center of the 10 for the night. Now, last night, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were the two front and center of the group of 10. And then tonight, it was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris that were front and center of the group of 10. And it's clear that CNN, at least, and I think MSNBC did this as well on theirs, they staged the different candidates based on their polling data. So the better you were in the polls, the more front and center you were. And I think part of that is because it's more likely that people are going to respond to things you've said, are going to take swipes at you. There'll be a few more questions asked of the main players. And so there's kind of a logic to that. Now, on the last stream, I was telling you that last night, 2 nights ago, I think that there was also an attempt to get Bernie and Kamala to take swipes at each other, and that didn't really happen. And I think that what we saw hold on one second. I wanted to show a picture of two pictures that kind of give you an idea of the different vibe. And I think that on with Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, I think that some people wanted to see them go after each other, and that didn't really happen. And I think that, well, I can't show it to you, but there was a moment, and it captured it perfectly, where Bernie Sanders is calling out CNN itself for being part of the establishment and part of the problem. And the fact is that they're going to get this time paid for by ads from the big health insurance companies and from the banks. And there'll be commercials about that. And Jake Tapper immediately was like, okay, thank you, Bernie. But while that was going on, and Bernie kept saying a couple more things, but there's a picture, I grabbed a screen grab, it was perfect, of Bernie kind of going like this, and Elizabeth Warren had a big old grin on her face. They were both looking at Jake Tapper, and they were like, yeah, that's right, buddy. That is right. That's what's going on here, and we both know it. And so there was this spirit of unity. And whether they, strategized this or not, it occurred. And so there was no biting between Sanders and Warren. And meanwhile, the other candidates from the outside were trying to attack, especially the conservatives, and they were getting swatted like flies. And Jake Tapper and the other panelists were getting pushed back from Sanders and Warren as well. It was amazing. Tonight, you have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris next to each other. And they obviously did not do the same kind of coordination maybe that Sanders and Warren did. They went after each other, especially Kamala Harris, who probably has more to prove. The polls show that she's in the mix, but she's a little bit further behind. And so she started going after Biden a little tougher. In fact, there was one point during the healthcare debate where they went back and forth so much. It was minutes and minutes, and I was wondering if CNN was just going to have a two-person debate, but it didn't happen again. But they went after each other, and I'll show you this. This picture is unfortunately it's sideways, but this was kind of that feel, Kamala making her attacks, Biden kind of like being dismissive. He even sometimes was looking completely away from her when she was making her stands. So that was in stark contrast to the other night. And also, okay, I'll show you. Here we go. I'll show you the picture that I was talking about with Bernie and Elizabeth Warren. This was the spirit of the first night, and I'm just, I was just pleased to see that. But that's not what was happening on night 2. So Kamala goes after Biden for having a plan that's just a pseudo plan that's not really changing Obamacare very much. That is also is just insufficient. That there's more needs for healthcare than needs now, and Biden tried to defend Obamacare and saying it was very good. People are very happy with it, and that we should just augment it a little bit. That we don't have to do a lot. And then the conservatives, as usual, just attack the whole thing. Want little to no change, or even going backwards. And tonight the conservatives were represented by Michael Bennet of Colorado, another Colorado like donkey fat, who is about he's about as inspiring as a wet sheet of paper, and he was one of the biggest conservative type person on the stage. But then what happened is that several things happened. So you had Biden and Harris going back and forth at it. And then, like it happens, people from the outer parts of the debate stage come in and lob their attacks. And I think that some interesting attacks were occurring. Bill de Blasio kind of went almost full-bore socialist sometimes in swiping conservatives away and saying that they're just Republicans in disguise, telling Biden that he's insufficient as well. And then Biden slapped back, saying that he was a bad mayor and that he didn't run his city very well. Cory Booker got slapped back by Joe Biden by saying that when he was mayor, stop and frisk was alive and well policy in Newark, New Jersey under his reign, that the police were conducting a lot of misconduct. Although Booker had one line of the night that was a big line where he basically, because Biden would try to attach himself to Obama a lot of times and take credit while he's vice president for Obama. And then during the immigration portion, as Biden began to speak, out in the audience, there were protesters that were audible. There was enough to be audible all the way to the stage, saying 3 million deportations, 3 million deportations, 3 million deportations, because although Donald Trump is doing horrific things at the border with the refugees, the fact is over 8 years, Obama deported 3 million people from this country. And Biden was asked to respond to that, and he started going, well, I was just the vice president, and I can't do everything, and I can't really, make the president do anything, and that's where Booker really came in and said, come on, you can't take credit for Obama and then not take the blame for stuff as well. And there was a lot of applause for that, and it's really true. If you're gonna rest on Obama's laurels, you got to take the bad with the good. And actually, this is a pivotal moment. This 2020 debate cycle has brought up some really key things. And whether Cory Booker did it to be opportunistic or not, the fact that he was using was true. And we've now seen the first evidences of Democrats understanding that the Obama reign was not always, flowers and rainbows. There was a dark side to it. There was there was stomping on whistleblowers. There was mass deportations. There was expansion of wars. There was even the loosening of the ability of our intelligence services to snoop on our own citizens. And all this went out under Obama's watch. And so now we're starting to begin to get actual candidates who are talking about this open and in public on national TV. So I actually saw this as a real pivotal moment in the overall debate about who are Democrats and what are they about, what's okay and what's not okay. So, that was, I think that was a real pivotal moment, and that was a plus for Cory Booker, except that, as Joe Biden pointed out, he wasn't the greatest mayor. And then I also happen to know that Cory Booker is a defender of the big pharma, has blocked bills to try to get cheaper imported drugs into our country, and to have lower prescription drug prices. And he's done it repeatedly. There's some other things as well. So that particular point he made was a good point. I'm not that enthused overall about his candidacy. So then we got Kamala Harris, and then she starts touting that she's always trying to tout herself and tie herself to civil rights and how she's fantastic about that. And now that she's pro-marijuana. And this is where another big part of the night came in. And this is where Tulsi Gabbard spoke up. And Tulsi Gabbard spoke up and stated that, it's interesting you talk about this, talking about your plan, while you were laughing about, you were putting people away in jail for marijuana possession while you were Attorney General. You're on radio shows laughing about you smoking pot. And then not only that, but you have at least one case where there was someone in custody on death row in California that had where there was evidence that would exonerate this person from being on death row, and you made sure that that evidence did not get out. You suppressed the evidence to ensure that that person stayed on death row. And her worst accusation, is one of the biggest, is that her office argued in California court to extend the sentences of prisoners who were scheduled to be released because they needed cheap labor to go fight the wildfires in California. Basically, they were arguing for slave labor, and it was really disgusting. And and so she made these accusations, and while she was making it, Kamala Harris was looking visibly shaken. She was looking visibly, off balance, off kilter. And she tried to respond to Congresswoman Gabbard by saying that she has a great civil rights policy that's now being modeled in other states, and she's terrific. And Gabbard repeated what she had to say, and saying that Kamala Harris is very disingenuous. And you could just see, and the crowd actually reacted very favorably for Kamala Harris. You could visibly see that Harris understood that this was a problem. And here's what I'm going to tell you about this whole dynamic, because I think that the establishment has been pushing Kamala Harris big time. They've been pushing her for over a year. And pushing her hard when she first came out and announced. And for a while, she was the star establishment possibility for the Democratic nomination. I think that there's still a lot of hope that she might be one of the top people. And here's one of the biggest reasons why they wanted to foist her up front, because Bernie Sanders is an old white guy, and they're most worried about Bernie Sanders. And if Bernie Sanders attacks Kamala Harris, a lot of the people who like to weaponize issues of race and gender feel like they have a big winner with Kamala Harris, because, oh, you attacked her, she's a woman, you're a sexist. Oh, you attacked her, she's a person of color, you're a racist. And that's an easy kind of place to go. We saw this 4 years ago with the Hillary campaign. When someone would have a problem with Hillary on a policy that Hillary has, and the attack back would be, oh, you're a sexist. And so here you've got two buckets covered. And Bernie, being an old white gentleman, is more susceptible to being attacked that way if he launches something. So here comes Tulsi Gabbard, who's a woman, who's a person of color, who's a war veteran, and who's someone who doesn't fly off the handle, kind of just tells you the truth as it is, with a lot of poise and strength and intensity. And so she said it. She finally said what a lot of progressive websites and other places have been talking about ever since Kamala Harris announced that she was going to run for president. There's been a lot of backlash, and including amongst the African American community that's awake, the ADOS folks, all kinds. Her record is there, and that's the thing. When you're an elected official, you have a record. There's video of Kamala Harris giggling when she was the attorney. Apparently, the city of San Francisco has an attorney general spot. And she was giggling about this policy she came up with that sent out letters to all parents in the San Francisco public school district where their kids were truant, telling them that they may be going to jail. And if that isn't separation of children from their parents, I don't know what is. And she was giggling. She was giggling about it. She later rescinded the policy, but that's just disgusting. And that's the kind of, and that's the real Kamala Harris. But they try to put a shine over all of that and a mirror to reflect all of that so you maybe don't see it. But Tulsi Gabbard was on point, was amazing. And the other thing that really struck me was when Kamala Harris did her closing speech, she looked weathered, worn, she looked tired. She was torpedoed in epic fashion. To me, Kamala Harris is one of the biggest losers of the night. And Tulsi Gabbard once again shined. And it shows because on the Google Trends after the debate, in all 50 states of this union, Tulsi Gabbard was the most Googled candidate of any of the 10 that were up on the stage. So, yeah, Kamala Harris, she knocked down some points. Don't be surprised. Tulsi Gabbard's been 1 or 2% in the polls. I'm predicting she's going to be at 5 before you know it, and rising. And Joe Biden had a very poor performance in the first debate that he was in. This performance was better, but it was still not. It's still not very good. And then also, one thing about his age. At the very end, most of the candidates did a pitch. Hey, go to www.tulsi2020.com, go to corybooker.com, or whatever. And I guess the aides for Joe Biden had him to do a text pitch, and he bungled it. He's like, and text 3030 Joe, and I get it what it is. I think you have to go to the number 3030 and then text the word Joe, and then that would link you into his campaign or whatever. But he totally screwed it up, and there's a generational thing there that kind of glared out. Honestly, Jay Inslee, the governor from Washington, was okay, but some of these other folks are just not. They're not ready for prime time. Bill de Blasio was great at attacking some of the more centrist Democrats, but unfortunately, he's a flawed candidate. And I really believe that he's in the race to steal delegates from New York City away from Bernie Sanders. That's his whole purpose of being in this race. And Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang was fine. He didn't say anything really bad. Andrew Yang is interesting. I think he talks in generalities, or he does a lot of explaining of what exists, but I don't hear a lot of policy out of him. He did touch on his universal basic income, and that really that is that one of the biggest things it does is a mechanism of paying people who do some of the most heavy lifting, hard work in our society, and yet and are least rewarded, and that is the stay-at-home parent, and usually it's the stay-at-home mother, that they get zero monetary compensation, and yet they're working their butts off, and that being able to provide this would be a form of stability for that, although it would go to everyone. It was a good point, yet it's not something that won him a lot of points. It was and that's pretty much what happened. But we have so between the two nights, we have some very interesting action and dynamic that's gone on. Not all of these people are going to come to the third debate because the requirements to get on the third debate stage go up. Right now, only 7 or 8 people are qualified. I would really urge you, if you want to still see Tulsi Gabbard out there speaking truth to power, and being just way on it, to please donate to her campaign. She needs 130,000 contributions by the end of August, and she's closing in on it. So just help bring her over the top. The same would go for people like Yang or Marianne Williamson, or other people who you think add something to the debate. Even if you donate $1, they're only counting unique numbers of people who contribute, not the amount of money that they contribute. So I would encourage you as citizens who, if you want more participation, if you want more voices from different places, take the time to do that. Like I said, people like Andrew Yang, Marianne Williamson, Tulsi Gabbard are folks that could really use your help. And continue some good Democratic debates. Because if we just leave it to the usual suspects and the conservatives, the Democrats are headed for the same rocks that they ran into in 2016, and I don't think that's good. Honestly, the people who inspire the most are people like Sanders, like Warren, like Gabbard. They're the ones that are exciting people. And like I said, the fact that she got the most Google searches, Tulsi Gabbard, afterwards, is it's just clear evidence that people, when they hear her, go, whoa, there's something to be paid attention to here. Hey, thank you very much for everyone that tuned in to the Lunchtime live stream. As I said, I'm going to be doing more of these, and hopefully I'll be doing them on time. I finally figured out the secret this last time, and I'm going to do another one on Monday at 11:30. Get ready for the next Lunchtime live stream. I'm going to talk about stuff that's going on here in Albuquerque with ranked choice voting. That's very important for the evening of Monday. So Monday, 11:30, tune in. Please subscribe, hit the bell next to it and say notify me for everything. And tell all your friends. Share this video after we finish the live stream. This will be turned into a video, and you can still share that out to your friends as well. Yeah, Suzanne, I forgot to look at the comments. Suzanne, who would be the next candidate to drop out? That's a good question. I think that some of these candidates are going to stick around through at least the 3 rounds of debates. I think the candidates, so number 1 will be the candidates who don't make it to the 3rd round of debates will give you a big clue. But unfortunately, some of them are zillionaires, they're self-funded, and so they can stick around through the force of their own money into the campaigns. If I would have to pick one, I would say it would be Roadkill Tim Ryan, who's now run into the Gabbard buzzsaw and the Bernie Sanders buzzsaw in the 2 different debates. Tim Ryan, if he stays in debates, it will make himself only more and more foolish as time goes on. If Tim Ryan stays in, he's already demonstrated he's not ready for prime time. He's clueless even in the areas of which he spent 17 years in a congressional committee. So, in some ways, I would say he's the most pathetic candidate. I may disagree with him less than I do, a jerk like John Delaney. But John Delaney at least has a little bit more focus. Tim Ryan is out to lunch and needs to get out. So that's the Duopoly Report. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on Monday.